Good day, everybody, and welcome again to another Tommy Williams show. We have a great one for you today. Today we have a couple of guests. First guest by the name of Vincent. Vincent's going to be coming on and speaking about his perspective of the pandemic. I never like to try to lead in with too much information, so without further ado, I'd like to introduce my first guest, Vincent, everybody, to the show.
How do you do? Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as well, Vincent. So, Vincent,
yes,
you as well are in Florida.
Yes, I
You're
am.
in Florida, huh?
It's been
okay. So it's been quite a time. I know we were just having a little discussion, just chopping it up, and I was saying about the Broadwalk there in Hollywood. And Vincent had said, you know what, try to stay away from people. And that was a great lead-in for our show because it's all about the pandemic and the changes that we've all incurred through this trying time. So, Vincent, what is it that you do, and how have you been affected by this pandemic?
Well, I've spent my life in entertainment industry. I spent a good 10 years in Hong Kong doing action film, working with people like Jackie Chan and so forth. But in the past 6 years, I doing a lot of humanitarian work, and I started my own foundation that's connected with the United Nations. I spent the last 17 years, basically, well, up until this last year, living in New York City. And when it's interesting because when COVID began in China, in Wuhan, this was back in December of 2019. My niece, who's one of the top internists at Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Hong Kong, she was telling me that this situation was brewing in China, and of course she was dealing and speaking with her colleagues in China. So I kind of knew about this way back, and she said, this is a lot worse than what China is telling the world. Of course, at that time we now know that they weren't very transparent at the early onset of the pandemic. And she said, this situation really is going to get very bad. And of course, she would tell me of the numbers that was happening in China, of course, which was not being reported to the West or certainly to America. And she said, you need to start preparing. And this was last January. So a year ago, and I said, what do you mean by preparing? She says, well, precautions is to try to stock up on masks and sanitize and all this type of stuff, and maybe PPE if you have it. I said, really, that's serious? And so I listened to her, and I started, telling students, colleagues, even people at the UN. I said, I've spoken to my niece. I said she's a top internist there, and of course, my students trusted my feelings. Of course, people, colleagues, even at the UN, thought I was being an alarmist and thought, "Oh, come on, this is ridiculous. It's not going to happen. It's just something that's over in China. It's not going to come here." And then, of course, by March of last year, it hit New York City, and New York City became the epicenter. And I thought, okay, this is not good. And so my fiance and I got on a plane, and we landed in Fort Lauderdale. It was actually March 18th. I remember, because as soon as I got down to get my luggage, I was kind of set upon by CBS Miami and interviewed me right in the airport. And why was I wearing? What kind of mask was I wearing? So and all this type of stuff. So we, my father is down here in Florida, in southern Florida. So we spent 3 months down in Florida. And so we went back up to New York around like the first week of June to see what the situation was. And then, of course, by that time, things hadn't changed. If anything, they got much worse. And so, after
Hmm.
17 years of living in New York City, I thought, there's really no point. And so got the movers packed up, headed back down here. And then, of course, by that time, New Florida became the new epicenter. So I went from
Isn't that something? That's amazing. That
yeah,
so you really so it was almost like a volcano, and you know and it was following you through, because out there you had inside track what was going on in China, and then you had the forecast. It was almost like you had a forecast. You had the forecast of what's been here in the States, and you stayed ahead of it. So you moved on down here, and things didn't get much better. So now things came down here to Florida, and the numbers escalated here in Florida as well, which I'm dealing with well. Um, how do you feel about the way people are handling things, and the seriousness in which people are taking this pandemic?
well, if we're talking about in America as opposed to globally, globally there have been countries that have handled it well. And of course, it began in Asia, and my son lives and works in Hong Kong. So countries that were close to China were very proactive. They handled it well. Hong Kong, Singapore, of course, Taiwan, uh, Vietnam, New Zealand, which is also another island state. So these countries handled it very well. And I wish countries in Europe and UK and certainly America wish we had been more proactive and kind of looked at the countries and what they were doing to handle it so well. And I wish that we had, and obviously last year was a perfect, it was the eye of the storm here, especially in the UK and the US. But, looking around, especially in Florida, I was in Miami last weekend. It was my fiance's birthday, and so we decided to go to the Fontainebleau, and it was like, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. No social
Mm-hmm.
distancing, nobody wearing masks, parking lots are full, restaurants are full. It's like, really? And who do we blame? We have to blame. It always comes down to blaming leadership. So
Yes.
the people at the
Yeah.
top making the rules and just saying, "Oh, do whatever you want," then
Hmm.
what happens. And so this is why America has the worst number of deaths, worst number of cases in the world.
Yeah.
I'm hoping with the new
Yeah.
administration that things will change and people will, it seems so they're very, very proactive and being very honest with the public, because that's what we want. We want to be told the truth, and the truth is brutal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How do you feel about the vaccine? Uh, Speaking about how we're moving forward with the new regime, the vaccine seems to be something that's taking place right now. But then the latest thing is the new strains that are about. So I know that what I've been hearing, from what I've been understanding, the antibodies, it's really these, it can't tolerate these new strains. So it's
Yeah,
not,
that's true.
nothing's
Especially,
impermeable to it.
I think they're,
Nothing's
you know,
impermeable.
I think the top epidemiologists, virologists, are very kind of, wavering as to, especially the strains that are coming from South Africa and Brazil.
Yes.
I don't think the science is proven yet, and I think maybe they're going to have to adjust the vaccine, just like they have to adjust the flu vaccine every year. I think they're going to have to tweak it.
Yes.
Personally,
Hmm.
myself, um, I'm going. I'm going to wait a while. I really need to see the efficacy. After they've, let's say, vaccinated, tens of millions. To see what's going to happen after that.
Yes.
I'm very proactive, and I have been since the beginning. Um, I've always worn the mask. In fact, for the first time, I travel a lot. So last year was the first time I hadn't traveled internationally, but I had traveled domestically quite a lot, and I traveled outside of the country over New Year's to Aruba, um, which yeah, very, low cases, low deaths. So it was quite interesting being in Aruba for a couple of weeks. It felt like normal living, once again. So it was a good feeling. Only to come back to
Yeah,
Florida, which is just crazy place.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna.
It,
I'm. Yeah, I'm purposely gonna wait somewhat, wait a while just to see, the outcome of how well this the vaccine.
and again, it really makes us we're at a disadvantage because we're such and so in New York as well, a transient place. You get people coming in and going out. You get people from Europe. You have a big culture that comes from other places, and they rely on that, and they're consistent because they paid lots of money, and I guess they feel as though a lot of people would feel as though, well, look, I've invested in this time, I can comply with what I need to do, but I don't want to just give up on this plan that I've invested in. So let me just go ahead out here, regardless. And that's of course what the local shop owners and people are looking forward to. They're looking for consistency. Because even when I went out to the beach the other day, and I had gone purposely to swim and did social distance, and I do like going in the evening time. Unfortunately, it's been a little chilly, but we're spoiled down here, so chili to us is like it's like 70 degrees.
Yeah.
So I still got in the water, but I looked over at the local pizza place that I used to frequent, and I said, "Geez, they're still making a couple of bucks. I still see people walking along the boardwalk, but I'm having a feeling that a lot of people are the locals that are here,
Yeah.
that are just trying to take advantage of it." And which brings me to like I know in martial arts you have a temple that you want to be in, and you keep yourself in, and and in the mind, and right now it's almost like people have to really have some sort of um, solace in their own mind because you really can't talk to people. You can. I've had mental health specialists come on and they gave some takeaways of try to be normal, try to do normal things that you normally would do, stick to traditions and things of that nature. And I get it. Talk to the people that you normally would talk to, speak with. um, do try to keep life as consistent as possible to how things were prior to the pandemic. And I get it, but you know what? Things are different. It's unbearable. Things are different. So, is there anything that you could suggest, or how do you get through just keeping your mind? Because the first thing that people will do during this time, especially, it's like compounded. It's not just like it was just here for a week. This is compounded daily, day in, day out. You go outside, you see people with masks. We've got to keep in compliance. Is there anything that people can do to withhold themselves and to hold themselves in a peaceful and good mental state during this time? Any suggestions?
Well, obviously we're in Florida, so we're one is fortunate that we, as you are sitting outside right now, we have vitamin D.
Yes,
It's very, very important. Um,
very
that's
important.
one of the things they've been talking about, for a year now, getting enough vitamin D. But also keeping yourself, healthy. Exercise is really important, and I know that might be difficult. It's certainly kind of impossible like in New York City, and of course it's cold up there now, so getting outside. But exercise is so important. Getting outside, getting
Mhm.
some actual fresh air, swimming if you can, whatever kind of exercise. For me, as a professional musician, part of my life is obviously um, practicing the piano on a daily basis, just like practicing martial arts. So for
Mhm.
me, that is a great thing for keeping my mind active. And it's the same thing for the older generation, whether they're playing whatever it is, cards, dominoes, whatever game things they play to keep the mind active. But and there are things we
Yes.
always have, but it's for true. There's, as you said, this year has changed uh, our society for sure. And will it return to the way it was? I'm not sure at this point. It's going to take a concerted effort, and I think a long while
Yes.
before it does change. But I think those basic things are really important if you're not already doing them, to certainly add them to your life. So for you, jump in that pool after we've spoken.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, how about the school system? Do you have any kids in school or anything, or
I'm
anybody
sorry.
affected by the school system, or
Oh no,
anybody affected by the school system? Do you have any kids in school? Or?
no. My son is now 29 years old. He's actually in Hong Kong, which is a good place to be, and they've always been very proactive. And it's also, Asian culture is they always have always worn masks anyway, because
Yes, yes,
it's a discipline and it's a respect. If I have a cough or a cold, I'll just wear the mask so that I don't give it to my neighbor or whomever, or so
yes,
in Asia,
yes.
you've always seen it. Yeah, it's not a new thing. Where here it's, and this is why we've had so many issues in the West, especially in America, about the whole mask wearing, situation. Yeah,
I think I look at it as it's such a respectful thing in Asia, for people to wear masks. It's so respectful, for people to be congenial and very thoughtful for other people's um, safety, and even before or even before safety, just nastiness. Here
yeah,
it's just it leads to so many bad habits, and as we try to introduce a future America to
mhm,
to things, perhaps just a starting point, a trigger,
yeah,
where the nation will be a little bit more uh, Howie Mandelish,
yeah,
and a little thinking about hey, you gotta take pride in yourself, and you gotta clean up after yourself, and remember that people are coming behind you, using the same water fountain, the same receptacles,
I
so
sure. And I think in the beginning we can say, well, we look at the Asian countries that have been very successful, and we can say, well, Asian societies, Asian cultures, they're disciplined. They they work in cohesion together with the group, with the town, with the the city, and they listen to their leaders. But it's not just Asian cultures, because great success in most of Australia and New Zealand, and those are Western cultures. So, why we did not take heed and advice and look at what they were doing, so that we did the same thing. But unfortunately, that did not happen. So yeah,
yes.
you know, unfortunately, it came to the point where you got to just take care of self and take care of your immediate family. And if you can help some friends and what have you, it's great. But it's I think a lot of it has come down to being proactive with obviously yourself as an individual, and then helping your immediate family to be smart and proactive.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it certainly is a pleasure having you come on. This has been quite a good conversation. I think that a lot of people, well, the takeaways I think was just stay active, try to stay. And it's not about fitness right now. I think it's just uh, placing yourself in a positive space
Yeah,
and doing something that's consistent, that's going to keep you keep you healthy,
yeah,
because mental health is the key. Even now, there was a time when I would exercise for fitness. Now I do it for mental stability.
yeah,
So I don't. I've looked at, even my physique doesn't depict, you know, the physique that I once had and everything. But you know what? I feel good.
yeah,
Yeah, mentally I feel great, and also I'm trying to work from the inside out. And I try to tell people that, what, the first thing that this virus wants to attack is your breathing, the respiratory. So you want to make sure your lung capacity is up to par. So even like you said, those people in cold states and cold regions of the world, I would suggest, just go outside and breathe. You have your mask on, just breathe, deep, deep breathing exercise. Do anything. If it's a brisk walk, do it, because you want to just induce your respiratory. You want to engage your lungs, and you strengthen them. And most important, I think now is a time when people have to take a look at their bad habits. We did have a a, a, a benchmark just a little while ago, and that was the New Year. And so many people probably said, "I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to stop doing that." But you know what? It's not too late to stop. Do it, because you know what? It could really save you and keep you at from keep you at the lower end of the spectrum if you happen to contract this virus. Because as a person who was always stayed physically fit and things, and one thing that I had relinquished was alcohol. You know, I wasn't a boozer, but I did drink. You know, and go to the beach, and I would have fun, and go out with my wife and whatever have you, social drink. But that was the first thing I said. You know what? I was running 5.2 miles a day, and I prided myself. And I said, "Geez, on these bad feet with fallen arches and pronation, I got my orthotics working. I really got bang for the buck with these things." And so I got myself up to speed. And then when I caught the virus, I could barely, I went for a bike ride, and I rode maybe like 25 feet, and I had to turn around and walk the bicycle back home. I just was out of breath. So I had to work myself back up to the 5.2 miles, and now I'm back. But I said, you know what? No more drinking. Just take it easy, and just let this be my lifestyle moving forward. And you know what? And I speak with my dad frequently. I actually lost my mother during this pandemic in November, so that was another thing that urged me to do the right thing, and this podcast going in a direction, and stay on it, stay in a positive space. So you tend to find yourself. I think a lot of people tend to find themselves and find out who they are. What's their passion. You want to be able to trim the fat, so to speak. You're like a butcher, and you just want to figure out exactly what you need in life, because tomorrow's not promised, never had been promised. But we have more of a focus now, especially with all the lives being lost. Might not hit your households, but it is out there. It's big green monster out there. It's the virus. And I think, and also I spoke with my dad, and I heard you saying that with the seniors playing cards or whatever they do. And my father, he's a writer, has some published works, and he's actually working on a manuscript. He'll be 90 next month. And I said, you know what, geez, Dad, after the mourning and the grieving of his wife and my mom and everything, now he's in the reparation process where he's okay. I need to fit the pieces of the puzzle back together again, and that's important, especially for a person when they get older, to keep that mind sharp. Yeah. So it was great having you on here.
No, thank you so much.
And 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 when things clear up, perhaps I'll see you out there at the beach someday. Okay.
Right.
We'll stay in touch.
We'll relax. Good. Stay safe and healthy. God bless.
You're a swimmer as well, Vince, huh?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, super. You take care.
Okay. You too. God
Thanks
bless.
again for coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you so
God
much.
bless you too. All right, folks, thank you very much for staying with me on the Tommy Williams Show. We're at episode number 9, and things are coming along superb, if I might say so myself. I had just had Vincent on, and Vincent, he's actually a musician. He's a pianist. He is a former actor and has starred in movies like with Jackie Chan and all that. He's heavy into martial arts, and he came on giving his perspective of the pandemic. He's also a fellow Floridian who's moved down from New York and was actually saw the pandemic as it was shaping itself to hit the states from China. So he really gave us a good perspective on what things look like on his side of the lens. Without further ado, I want to bring on Shawn King, and Shawn King's going to have a discussion with me as well regarding the pandemic. Shawn, welcome aboard.
Hey, what's up, Tom Dog? How are you, sir?
I'm doing swell, man. I'm doing swell. Thank you very much.
How are you and the Tomcats doing?
Oh, the Tomcats, we're doing well. We're doing well. We're hanging in there. Tomcats here. And we're roaring as well, because we have the fellas out there. Shawn's referring to my YouTube channel, everybody, Tommy Williams channel with the pink T. Please come aboard and subscribe. Shawn, now we're here to talk about the pandemic, so enough about me. Let's talk about this pandemic. I saw when you first arrived, you had your mask on, but it's all about social distancing, CDC. How do you feel about it? What is it you do, Shawn? What do you do? And how are you affected by the pandemic?
Well, so I'm in the entertainment industry. I'm a consultant. I deal with a lot of celebrity clientele. So I'm a producer, director, assistant director on set typically throughout my day. out of Atlanta, Georgia, and it's been rough, man. Like just really trying to work but stay away from people, if that kind of makes sense. You know, we're not typically allowed to have more than 6 people at one time in the group anywhere. So trying to shoot outside on set and not having extra PAs or runners and people to help you out is a little challenging. So we're making do. This past weekend, we shot a music video with Rick Ross, Jermaine Dupri, Country Wayne, and LA the GOAT. And it was a little challenging, especially dealing with I guess, the friends of the celebrities, because a lot of times, like when Rick Ross walked in, he didn't want to do a fingerprint. Another guy didn't want to do a nose swab. So people are kind of like offended, like we're saying, like, you think I had it? Or people are like, well, I just don't want to be bothered because I was just swabbed yesterday. Why do I have to be swabbed again today? So it's challenging, especially with dealing with high-profile clientele, as you know, because a lot of times they want to do things the way they want to do it, but we still have to follow guidelines to make sure everybody's safe on set. So we're dealing, bro. It's challenging, but we're dealing. So
good, fantastic, man. Yep. So you're in Atlanta, so that's another mecca for people, coming in and out, a very transient place. Have you noticed with local government, have they closed anything down, or are things pretty much still, open season?
Well, it's very interesting in Atlanta. I don't know if many of your followers or people here have ever been to Atlanta, but like the nightlife, the nightclub scene, it never stopped. Like even in the thick of the pandemic, the nightclubs was operating like nothing was wrong. And I refused to go, but they were operating. A lot of the restaurants followed the guidelines, of course, because they didn't want to get shut down. So a lot of the restaurants were closed early. A lot of our restaurants, you can't even go in anymore. So it's different. Just being in Atlanta, like Atlanta is, is like the #1 airport in the United States in terms of travel and the events, but trade. So Atlanta's #1 in trade. And since the pandemic, it's just awful. There's no more Georgia Tech games where you go to. There's no more Georgia State. There's no more the AUC, Spelman, Morehouse. Everything is shut down. So the feeling in Atlanta, just in general, bro, it's not a good vibe. It's different. And we're the Bible Belt. So with the churches being closed, it's just like I said. It's just quiet and country. It reminds me of the '80s in Georgia. Just different. Yeah, different.
Yeah. Sure. So how about, I know that, Shawn, I've known Shawn for some time. I've known Shawn for a good 30 years. And,
yeah, sure.
I lost my mom, and there's been a lot of, a lot of passings, a lot of things going on, and you've talked about this, that and what's different, with regard to that whole thing. A funeral used to be like a home going. Things have gotten so different now. I'll tell you, Shawn. I don't know if you watched episode 8, but I had a fellow on last week, and he shared some information. He worked for a hospital up in New York, and he's actually he works on the floor. He's a director for one of the floors in the hospital, and they actually whittled their jobs down because the pandemic was so rough in the beginning. And they had the bodies, and they had the people in the trailers. They were just storing the bodies in the trailers. The funeral homes were all booked up. He was part of the wrapping crew. So his department actually turned into the ones who wrapped the bodies and just put them in in holding areas, and it was sad. But now it's like, it's still, you can't have a regular funeral. You can't still do these CDCs. Have you experienced any situations like that?
So first, I wanted to say, giving honor to God and respect. We're not in control. Tommy, like you said, over 30 years, we're not. I lost my mom at 13, and during that time, a funeral was really a funeral. It was your whole family, like every cousin, every aunt, uncle, my mom and dad's side was there. It was well over 200-300 people. So when you're mourning, it makes it a little easier to look over and see the cousin crying, and look over auntie crying because in your mind the whole time is I lost my mom. I lost my mom. And when you can look over and see other family members there, it makes a big difference.
Sure.
I had all kind of emotions. Like one of my cousins, I got mad at because he was crying. Because I'm like, what are you crying for? You never came to visit my mom when she was alive. But it was just, it was a way for me to deal with my emotions by having other family members there, whether good or bad. And so
Yes.
now, since the pandemic, I've lost 3 family members. I had a cousin who was the earlier part of the COVID, and we weren't able to attend the funeral, but we were able to get together as a family before the funeral and just kind of hang out and spend time eating like we normally would do and laughing and kind of getting our mind just off the funeral. Because, once somebody dies, you're literally in thought about life from that day
Something too
till the funeral. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You're literally mourning until the funeral is over with. So after the funeral, normally, the repassing and the just being with family that came into town, it takes the edge off. After they leave, it kind of, still have that mourning period. But like, just knowing what you had to go through, just I've been there. A lot of people.
Yeah. It was, and you hit it right on the head. The support. I had for my mom's, I know my mom's funeral was a little tough and things, but I did have my family there and things, but in terms of those extra people that would have loved to have made it, there were so many calls and so many club members that my mother was friends with internationally. She was 85, my dad's 89, so a lot of them had passed on prior to, but there were still a lot of people who I'd love to have to be there, but they just weren't able to attend because of the this pandemic. So yeah. So are the schools open there, Shawn?
Some are and some aren't. It's just kind of like most of them are, but a lot of the classrooms are packed because you have the option to stay home, keep your kids at home. So not a lot. There's no events or anything going on. Kids, no Chris shows. There's no, none of the stuff that we're used to. But yeah, some schools are open. The colleges are still closed. Most of the students are online. So
yeah, gotcha. So listen, what about the vaccine, Shawn? What's your take on the vaccine? Do you see yourself taking the vaccine? Are they offering the vaccine up there in Atlanta?
yeah, they're offering. There is a wait.
Is there? Hey, Shawn.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Is there? Yeah, something keeps on popping up. Like
someone keeps calling in for some reason from New York. I don't know, but the vaccine is available, but there is a wait. I don't think personally I would take it. I'm going to stick to the limes, the ginger shots. A lot what you teach me, and a lot from what I learned from you. Working out, staying in shape, trying to keep my lungs active, moving around, running if I can. I'm big into swimming, but you make it seem so fun. So a lot of the times I'll jump in the pool just because Tommy jumps in the pool. But I always do my breathing technique. So, I'm just trying to stay, bro, and trying, not quarantine, but just stay away from people. From Jersey originally. So we always wanted our 3 feet before COVID. Please.
Yeah.
I'm never
too close.
breathing on me. So I'm dealing, and we're dealing. I miss being around friends and family a lot because I'm nervous sometimes if I could bring something to them or if I could catch something from it. So, for me, the most challenging part is like we have to forfeit family reunions, birthdays, anniversaries, funerals, weddings. It's just the saddest thing ever, bro. But I think the interim of what God is trying to do is trying to get us all back reset, get back to the basics, taking care of yourself, taking care of your family, taking care of your family. It's taking care of your family. I have 3 amazing sisters, and they every week, like clockwork, they reach out to me. Hey, Shawn, you all right? You're washing your hands. Show me the gel in your car. Show me your hand sanitizer. Like literally, my sister Karen, she calls every week. Show me your sanitizer. So, you know, that's the biggest thing for me. It's just staying away from family. I miss them. I want my dad, you know, of course, same age as your mom. You know, we share our parents' birthdays. My dad is 85 too, and he'll be 86 in April. But staying away from them is challenging because I wanted to go see and hang out with them, but because I am active in my lifestyle in the entertainment industry, I'm around people.
Yeah.
So I haven't had a 2 weeks where I'm away from people where I can say, okay, now I'll go see them like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Challenge.
Well, you know, absolutely. You know, I always try to encourage people to get some takeaways. I think you gave information and gave some takeaways for people the whole time, man. You. I think the most important thing from what I'm hearing is take time out for family, take time out for what's important, take time out to exercise. Make sure you work your lungs and stuff. I hear you, man, and you know I'm proud of you too because
Thank you.
Shawn, I used to be heavy. Shawn used to be heavy, and it's a battle as you grapple with age and father time. You know,
Yes.
it's not easy, but you can't make excuses. This is not a time where you can make excuses. This is a time when you have to internalize and you have to dig deep and say, what am I doing for myself? Because what you're not doing is going to be your fault eventually. You know, because if the COVID gets a hold of you, and wrestles you to the mat, you have to get that moment out just to do a couple little deep breathing exercises, a couple little laps, a little stroll around the park, something because it's not easy. That high end of the spectrum is getting higher and higher with all these different strains that are coming in. And this vaccine right now, just like Shawn said, he's not quick to lunge at this thing. And Vincent was on prior too. He was not quick to lunge at this. He's waiting for tens and thousands of people to go ahead and get the vaccine so they could find out whether or not it's really the real deal, and me too, because I don't want to grow another foot right now.
Right.
But if growing another foot means getting rid of myself of this whole thing, well, maybe I can walk around with 3 feet instead of 2. I take that. But you know what? We really don't know what's behind door number 3, and this is hardly a time to play around with the prices right. But you know what? People are taking it. We just have to stay mindful that we don't have time because as these strains come harder and stronger, we want to make sure that we're in a good position for ourselves and in a ready position that we need to be in. And I think the most important thing as Shawn entered, wearing those masks. Shawn came on with his mask, and I was like, "Wow!" I always have mine in the wagon that I have next to me with all my little production equipment, and and I don't. I'm far away from people, but I'm with you on that, buddy. Wear it.
It's the watch. You wear it as a watch now. That's like because I get out the car and it's on the on the shifter driver, it's on the seat. And then once it touches something, you want to put it back on your face again.
Right. There you go. Yeah. I'm telling you. It goes on and on. Well, Shawn, I'm so glad you came on for a conversation. And that's what it's all about here on the Tommy Williams Show, just about a conversation. This is my brother for many, many years, and I knew he wouldn't let me down. I need this guy around for a long, long time. I wish that.
This guy got me from 254 pounds down to 189. You understand me? Inspiration, motivation, and I appreciate it. And Tommy knows I have 4 older brothers, but this guy here inspires me more than all my older brothers, and they know it.
Oh, man.
This guy here, 30 plus years, mentor, just helped change my life, man. I don't know as many people that know Tommy like I know outside his college brothers and the people that he grew up with, but 30 years plus, I've been able to learn so much. Tommy will tell you, it's been times that I wanted to just off myself. I didn't feel like I wanted to even be here on Earth. I struggled with it, and I reached out to him as a friend and thinking he's gonna be like, "Bro, it's okay," and this and that. He was like, "Man, I will kick your." I was like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "What do you think I'm gonna do if you do something to yourself?" And it changed my perspective and thought of even being thoughtful to be that selfish of a person like I was being to want to do something like that to me. To times where I had lost weight and I didn't have any clothes. My clothes would look baggy on me and stupid. So Tommy would be like, "Yo, I'm coming to scoop you up, bro." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to go outside. My clothes, I don't look right." He's like, "Bro, you better be grateful that you lost the weight. Put a belt on, tighten the pants up." Like, so he told me so many different ways and encouraged me there's so many different ways to do so many different things when I wanted to give up. So, bro, I just want to take the moment to tell you I thank you and I appreciate you for that forever, bro. Because
I certainly do appreciate that. Hey, listen, you know something. Normally, I would interject. That's even further. Let's roll the tape all the way out, because. But I will say, Shawn, it's great having you. It's great. It's great having you on, and I'm glad that you feel so highly about me, man. And this is what I'm doing for the long haul.
My bro, for life.
Yeah, this is what it's all about, folks. It's all about creating that positive space right now. Right now, we have so many negative things. I've heard so many people mention that oh, I can't wait for 2021 because of this whole pandemic. What a horrible year! But you know what? You're not promised another day, so you might as well make it the very best you can. And instead of whining over what you had, be happy for what you do have, and hope for tomorrow. So with that, Shawn, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining me on the show, and I'll talk to you off the set, man.
Me, I appreciate you, man. Keep the journey going, man. I see you in the real world.
Okay, buddy. All right, Shawn King, everybody.
Peace, guys. Take care, everybody.
Appreciate you. Okay.
I see you, man.
Okay, folks. Well, this is it. You got it right here on the Tommy Williams Show. 2 more fantastic guests. We had an awesome time. Hopefully you enjoyed and finished that bucket of popcorn we were watching. Boy, so much to think about with this pandemic. What a journey we've had thus far, and we're not through yet, folks. So make sure you don't hold on to just your hat, hold on to that mask, and make sure you always tune into the Tommy Williams Show, where you can learn from one another. People just like yourselves, you see. It doesn't require celebrities. We don't need anybody who's from a certain walk. Just anybody. Welcome to the show. Share your story. We all need to understand that this is something that's not prejudice. It reaches across all. It has no boundaries, right? It's across the waters. It's in the UK. It's in Uganda. It's in Japan. It's in wherever you could think. It's there. I know that Vincent said he traveled to Aruba a little earlier in the year with his wife, and he felt a little sense of reprieve. But trust, it's there too. So always, as my father always says, to be forewarned is to be forearmed, folks. And I can't think of a more appropriate phrase to leave you all with. So with that, see you next week, and thank you very much for joining the Tommy Williams Show. Good day, everybody.
Now, glutathione is a big word, but it's the body's own master antioxidant. So it's a scavenger for free radicals, for bacteria, and what's relevant now, viruses. This is new to the marketplace. There's no other product on the market that has the ingredient NACET.
And basically NACET increases the production of that glutathione that is in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system and keep it strong.
Elevated sense of well-being. Supports muscle strength and endurance.
Cognitive function. Powerful liver support.
Energy. Helps blood sugar regulation. Superior bioavailability of key ingredients.
One of your best defenses against COVID is a strong immune system. Taking GSH Plus as a daily supplement does all that. And now we have the product out on the marketplace.